Hey, welcome back to Setting the Screen, everyone. Jeff Needs Help production. Tonight we've got it's kind of a groundbreaking show for Jeff Needs Help. So I've got you guys all know my partner tonight. We got Stephen Gillespie with us again. Stephen, how are you?
Man, Jeff, I'm excited. This is my first ever movie review. We've been doing a couple of the Marvel, installments that they've been doing on Disney Plus, and that's been really fun. And I'm just so glad that I get to work with you on this project today, brother.
Yeah, this is cool. So what we're doing tonight, it'll be my first official movie review on Jeff Needs Help. It's we're doing Mortal Kombat, the 2021 Mortal Kombat, not the other two.
Maybe
The previous
someday.
one. Yeah, it just kind of it's kind of a phenom. A couple weeks ago, it comes out. Blows up across America. Has a great debut weekend. So, honestly, Steven thought it would be a great idea. He's pumped about the movie. Thought it'd be a great idea for me and him to get together and do a review. So, essentially, that's what we're here to do. Talk about a super fun movie is what we're talking about. Not it may not win an Oscar. It may. I don't know. You never know. But it was a lot of fun. And I think a side note to it, it's movie theaters are starting to open back up. So this movie actually had a movie theater, audience, which is, that's just kind of neat. So a lot of people got to see it in the actual movie theater. So
Getting
yeah,
back to the new normal, isn't that what everyone says?
it,
We're at.
it works for me. Whatever that is, I don't know.
It's
I don't
just a
know.
fun thing to say, I guess.
Yeah, it's easy to just whatever happens, you just say, it's the new normal.
New normal.
That's how it is. Yeah. But so yeah, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk. We're gonna break down this movie. We'll get into it like we do. You guys know how we do it. We'll get carried
Oh
away
yeah.
on one thing, and you guys always know by the end of this, we may like the movie better. We may like it worse. Sometimes we don't know where it's gonna go. We
No.
kind of just let the bus steer itself and see what happens here. So um, without that, we'll get started. We're gonna try and keep some sort of semblance of structure here. Anybody that's listened or watched to any of the stuff that me and Steven have done so far, we try to stay on topic. But if something good takes us away from that's totally cool. Also,
it's it's structured, but we try to keep it organic too. Like if something good comes up that we didn't necessarily have, premeditated coming into it, we won't just deflect it and run away from it. We delve in and
yeah,
hash it out.
yeah. So here we go. Let's see how serious. you know, I think for the first time in a long time, though, Stephen, we don't have to. We may not have to dig into like bigger stories in the and over. I mean, the and overarching tones of the show. We may actually be able to just talk about this and have a little bit of fun.
I'm
Uh,
so excited, man. Yeah, yeah.
I am too, man. I am too. So here we go. Let's start off here. We're going to talk about first subject, cinematography. So
Okay.
basically, we're just going to talk about how the movie looks, how it sounds. I guess not how it sounds, but you guys get the feel, the overall look of the movie. Which, Steven, the fact that you put this on the list first, I'm guessing you have some thoughts on this. So you kind of get us started on cinematography here, and then we'll talk about some higher points of the show.
Well, I feel like this one and this topic would resonate well with you because I've listened to how you critique the shows that we've done together, and I've listened to you talk about other movies too. So I'm kind of curious to see what I felt about the movie's cinematography compared to you because I respect you, and you kind of inspire me to look at movies in a different, more deeper manner.
Just say it, more critical.
More critical. Well, I mean, you look at it more deeply. It's not just face value because sometimes I'm just like, this movie is good. Like that's where I typically tend to live. But I've tried to step my game up being around you. But overall, I felt that cinematography. I mean, going to the opening scene where you're at, Scorpion's, village and the fighting in that area. Well, first off, it's Mortal Kombat, so you're gonna have blood work, and I felt like that
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
So
Go ahead.
my first surprise was that they leaned into it because when I turned, full disclosure, I turned this movie on because our chat room at the Off the Ball Network, which me and Steven are both a part of, you guys just started talking about how great this movie was. So I just click on it. Like I had no expectations. I hadn't watched any trailers or anything. And I was really kind of blown away by immediately like how much they really leaned into, true Mortal Kombat, as far as the I don't know if you want to call it gore, but graphic violence
Sure.
and things like that. Which to me, I thought that was really cool. You got to be fair to the video game. So yeah, I thought that was neat. I thought they did some cool stuff right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, you got an origin story, which we love a good origin story. Well, hang on, we got Josh Gilstrap saying, "Can we agree on this? We need a prequel with the Shirai Ryu and Lin
Yes.
Kuehl feud." Am I saying that
Yep.
right? Lin Kuehl feud, basically the Scorpion and the Sub-Zero
Yeah.
villages feuding with each other. I'm all for a prequel, sequel, side
Yeah.
stories,
I want to
whatever.
say it too. I didn't want to tip my hat, but I'm in. Like
I'm invested.
before, I know we're going to talk about ratings at the end of this, but I will say this: whatever they come out with, I'm in. Like, if it's a prequel, it's sequel. If they want to do a sequel, then a prequel. I could see no less than 5 movies coming out of this easily.
Ooh,
And
okay.
Josh, host
Mortal
of
Kombat universe type thing coming out.
Yeah, Josh Gilstrap, host of the Your Next Favorite Movie podcast, knows his movies, and he loves. I guess we want to Quay. Thank you, Josh. I think, and he knows his. If we want to call this martial arts cinema, he's a fan. He actually turned me on to The Raid, which one of the stars of the movie was in that. That's
Okay.
a huge cult following of a movie. So Josh knows his stuff. So I'm just want to put that there. Everybody go check out his podcast too. It's
Thank you, Josh.
Awesome podcast. Yeah, he's killing it right now. So yeah, I thought it looked great too. I mean, I thought how they worked in some of the stuff early with the ice. That right off the bat.
So the ice. I want to touch on that. When Sub-Zero or Bihan is his human name before he goes Sub-Zero. So when Bihan at this time is kind of conjuring up this ice, it doesn't look like it's necessarily fun, but he has kind of built a tolerance to it. Like you see blood on his hands when the ice is kind of breaking through. So it's not like, I don't know how much movie Twilight you've seen, with the Edwards and the Jacob. So that my biggest critique of those movies, I haven't even seen them all, but I've sat through them, because I was interested in dating my used to be girlfriend, now wife, and she was into the movie. So I'm like, okay, I'll sit through this terrible movie. And the biggest problem that I had is like when the werewolves turn into werewolves, it just seemed like this, oh, I sneezed and now I'm a werewolf. Like it's not a grotesque transformation. Well, you could imagine like a human, conjuring or wielding ice. It wouldn't be a pleasurable experience. And so as a human, like you see blood forming on his hand as he's, forming the ice and then retracting it. There
was consequences. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we've actually, this is pretty cool. We've got a couple, we are overwhelmed with awesome podcasters tonight. So we got Josh Gilstrap checking in and helping us out. And we got a special guest. We have Josh from 4 Nerds by Nerds.
Hi, how's it
going?
How
are you?
Good, hey, what's going on, Josh?
Yeah, so Josh, you just dropped your Mortal Kombat podcast yesterday, correct? Sunday?
I did. Yeah, it was supposed to come out on Friday, but I was very busy.
Well,
we know how that goes.
We understand. So hey, I appreciate you coming on. We haven't got to meet or be on the show yet, so this is awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I'm looking forward to hooking up with you.
Yeah, it's great. So
let's do this as an interview then. Let's ask what he thinks of the cinematography for the movie then.
Yeah, what did you think of the look of the movie, the cinematography overall? I kind of know because I got a chance to listen to his podcast this morning, so I'll try not to tip his hat too much.
After like listening back to the episode too, I feel like I feel differently. I think it was shot beautifully. I think it looked phenomenal. But it's not like a flawless movie.
Oh no,
no pun intended. Sure. I mean,
when you have that much CGI in a movie, there's always going to be issues. I mean, that's just the facts of it. It's tough. And you brought up a lot of good points. When you guys were talking about there was quick clips and stuff, and you think that maybe they essentially just shortened the movie, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. I don't know how much they shortened or if anything they took out was any good, but there is definitely spots where it's like that was not how the scene was intended to play out. It just jump cuts to like something happening, and it's like that wasn't going on 2 seconds ago. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, it did seem like there was probably some clippings left on the cutting room floor, right? Like it seemed like, for one instance, where we jump from Gary, Indiana, and then all of a sudden we're in a plane. When Kano is saying like,
Big
"Oh, I have a
questions
friend
with
with I have a friend with a plane," and then they're in there just mid story when Lee is waking up from this dream. So I could see that being one of those examples, as you were just saying.
I'm wondering if it's like things that needed to be reshot and then they couldn't reshoot it because of COVID. So they were just like, "Oh, we just have to snip it out because the audio sucks," and we can't ADR it because we don't have like a reverse shot or something like that.
Fair point.
Right. And I think a good decision they made as far as that is, I think sometimes movies, we're all comic book movie fans here, and sometimes they, get caught up in, when you worry about everything looking so perfect, well, what you wound up was a 2.5 hour movie. And I think if this movie goes another 20 minutes, it's a different movie. You're like, okay, that was enough of that. Sometimes shorter is a little better. And I thought this movie was right at the limit of how long I would have enjoyed it. When I watched it today, I looked at the time, and I think it was 1:39 when the credits start. And I'm like, I can live with that. I think that's if it goes to 2 hours, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go back and be like, well, they gave me everything I needed. This isn't Endgame. This is Mortal Kombat. Things move quickly. And hey, we all play video games here. That's how it goes. I'm the oldest one here. Like there was no cutscenes when I was playing Mortal Kombat in 1995. It was pretty choppy.
And then you level up, and then you play the next person.
Yeah. But I thought the colors of the movie looked really good. It just had a nice hue.
Yeah.
Just to me, and I think they did a good job of, when it was, when one person was on screen, it looked one way, and another, they gave it the feeling of a difference there. I thought the ice looked awesome. I thought they did a great job with all the ice stuff and the fire stuff, which is hard to do sometimes because these actors have imaginary, in their hand. But I thought that came off well.
Yeah, they're basically LARPing at that point, right? So I want to ask, and I'm sorry, it's Josh, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is our first time meeting. I just want to make sure I get it right. So, Josh, do you remember the first live action Mortal Kombat and then Annihilation as well? Correct.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we did Mortal Kombat on my show a couple weeks ago.
Excellent stuff. I'm gonna have to go back and look.
Do Annihilation.
Yeah.
So I mean, you kind of have to it's a little bit of self-infliction of pain, a little bit of self-torture to go back and watch Annihilation. So when people kind of are super critical of this movie, Josh, and I mean, some people are more critical than I am, and I think I went into this not expecting, Jeff, like you said, Endgame. But I remember back to these first installments of the movies, and one of the characters, Motaro, the kind of the centaur, half man, half horse guy with the horns on his head and all that. I just remember going back and watching that movie and just thinking, oh my goodness, this is bad. Or when, Shao Kahn turns into a dragon and then Liu Kang turns into a dragon and then it's just a giant claymation of dragon fights. Yeah. I'm like, oh my goodness, that was so rough. But looking at this Mortal Kombat movie, I felt like the powers that everyone had, we're going to get into the characters here soon and in the analysis of how we felt like they did. But, even some of the characters that a lot of their appearance was CGI, I felt like they did a good job with the overall aesthetics of each individual character and their use of powers.
Yeah, everyone looked amazing, and everyone's there was no point where anyone used their powers and it was like, oh, the budget ran out there. Mm-hmm. Like everything looked fine. Like the only real problems with these movies is where like the fight scenes could have been a little longer or a little better choreographed.
Yeah.
And like we said, like things seem cut or condensed. But I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, you're watching an hour and 40 minute long movie. Like it is exactly what it should be, basically. And you didn't waste that much of your life. So like I said it on my show, I was like, it's not like this movie will and is doing poor critically, but audience wise, it's doing just fine. Yeah. And it's like, it's not going to be an Academy Award style movie. Like what type of performances are you expecting out of this? It's people that are going to cut each other's heads off. Like it's not Schindler's List.
Yeah, and
it's the first installment of it too,
And I think too that we'll move into the actors, but I think one thing they did was that they understood that this movie is something that's actually going to have a much longer shelf life because of the way they chose to go about it. You can try to make a really good movie and make it more quote unquote realistic and all that. There's a lot of good actors in this movie, but it is not going to have the shelf life. Even the original Mortal Kombat's it still has watching ability because they went in on it. And this show, I think, is to the max. I'm thinking in 20 years, this is still a show that people will watch because they played to their audience. They gave their audience what they wanted to see. Like there's no reason to try and, to broaden your horizons on Mortal Kombat. Give people an awesome movie and, let them watch it. Yeah. I thought the CGI looked really good. It is hard to do, especially what was, that's a character. Is it Gorgon or
Goro? Yeah. Goro, the four-armed gentleman.
That's a hard fight to pull off.
Prince Goro.
You know
how they did that, right?
No, I don't know how
they had two people fighting as one person. So they had an upper guy and a lower guy, and they were both operating at the same time. So you want to talk about how hard it is to choreograph two independent people to move as one being? That's insane. They had
used motion capture. It wasn't
correct.
I assumed maybe that's why it looked a little better. Wow. So I have more appreciation for that now. Wow.
Yeah. So that was two independent people operating as one person fighting against, Cole here, as the new character. And we're going to get into the characters again. I have a tendency to want to dive into the characters first, but the cinematography is an important aspect of any movie. Josh, I'm sure you agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what'd you guys think of, we'll call them the settings, but essentially they're the levels, the stages. What'd you guys think about how they chose, where they fought and what that looked like, even though we didn't get a tournament? There was definitely stages, the farmhouse stage, the cave, the frozen gym. I mean, which was super dope. Yeah. How do you guys feel about that, Josh?
That frozen gym was awesome.
It was pretty
That was insane.
I think the only thing that didn't look all that great was the part where Jax fights
General Roku.
Yeah. Because it was fine if they had done what everyone was expecting them to do, because it looks exactly like the stage from Mortal Kombat where you can fatality somebody by uppercutting them and they fall into spikes. And they didn't do that. So the CGI did look a little off there when they were zoomed out, but they weren't zoomed out all that often. I thought all the desert stuff looked good. All the city stuff looked great. When Sub-Zero was attacking and launching all the hail balls at car chase. I thought that all looked amazing.
I thought that looked really good. I mean, for this budget of a movie, Josh, did you say that it was $20 million? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I had heard, and then I heard 50, but
anything under 100,
for Sub-Zero to look and act as flawlessly as he does, that was impressive for a lower budget movie, because he looks incredible.
Yeah, I thought all the characters did well, and even before you saw them as officially Mortal Kombat characters, you could tell who was going to be who based off of their wardrobes. So I kind of like that little foreshadowing. I thought the Outworld was pretty dope too, and that was another one where it felt like, Josh, you were talking about a lot of the cutscenes that they could have done more with Outworld, but I really feel like a lot of what we saw and the stuff that we were left wanting more, I almost feel like it was intentional, because like I said, this was the first installment of it. They're kind of testing the waters. How much are people going to appreciate what we're doing before we, commit to doing a second or a third or spin-off movies, prequels even. I felt like this being the first installment, kind of testing the waters, I felt like they did everything appropriate that they should have done for it being their first movie in order to see what they can do moving forward.
Yeah, I feel like that is a good idea too. Especially when you have a movie where you are using a limited budget. The budget was 55, which still isn't a lot for a movie.
Not for this.
Especially with a movie that has good CGI.
Yeah.
Usually when you're dealing with a movie that has a $50 million budget, you're like, man, that looks like garbage.
Yeah.
But my overall take on this film was this, and I said it in our episode, was the same way I felt walking out of Venom, and I love Venom and I love Mortal Kombat. And a lot of people like hated Venom, but it was a risk. It was a lower budget movie for a superhero movie, especially a character that is completely CGI. And I walked out of it going, I was okay. And I feel like if it does good enough, the sequel will be a lot better. And I feel the exact same way about this. This movie wasn't amazing, but it was fine. It was good. And it's clear they've already announced it's made enough money to get a sequel.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And that means the budget is going to go from 55 to probably 120 million at least.
Because people are going to want to make money off of this too.
And then the sequel will probably be a lot better. I mean, Venom 2 is coming out later this year. I'm hoping that is a lot better than the first one.
Let there be carnage. Can't wait. It's going to be dope.
Yeah, I need a carnage in my life.
I love carnage.
I can't wait. But so we'll move to the characters and actors before I do a 45-minute carnage podcast. So we'll talk about a few of them here. We got some classics, but let's talk about Cole Young.
Thank you. I'm glad you wanted to start with this one first.
Brand new, brand new storyline, new powers. Like everything is a completely made up character, which is odd for a franchise to do. So do you want to talk about Cole Young? Tell us what do you think about Cole Young, Steven?
So another thing, and Josh just got done talking about the risk. This is a pretty significant risk because when you put out a movie that's based on a video game that has such an elite following, Josh, you don't know me, but I'm in the military. I'm in the Navy. I work on submarines, and we don't get to do a lot outside of being on a submarine. So one of Submariner's favorite pastimes is playing Mortal Kombat against one another, right? So there is an elite following of this video game. For them to break away from what the first two did, and I think what a lot of people did was they expected some of what we saw in the first two movies to be in here. I'm so glad that they kind of veered away from that and introducing not only a new character but a descendant of one of the best characters in the entire franchise. I thought was phenomenal. I love the fact that they did that. It was risky, and I know a lot of people are saying that you didn't have to really be too invested in him. Again, I think that was intentional because this, like we've been saying, is a risky movie. So putting in a brand new character in a brand new Mortal Kombat movie, a rated R version at that's huge as well. I thought that they did a good job with him. His skill set, his suit felt a little bit like what we saw with Chadwick Boseman's, T'Challa.
That felt like a direct ripoff of Black Panther. I'm not saying they ripped it off, but man, that
skill set was very much like absorb the kinetic energy. You can redirect it, whatever you're hit with, you can dish it right back out, to the 10th power or whatever. And I felt like that was, I don't know, it felt like it adequately represented who he was as a person, right? Like he was this prize fighter. He's not where he used to be. We heard it say throughout the show, you're used to getting punches. That was told by his, the head guy at the UFC facility that he was at.
It was a little confusing though, because they really didn't explain how good he was or why he had the drop off. He almost seemed just a kind of a little like
he's a washed up UFC fighter, but we don't know a whole lot.
But his wife was totally on board, which is odd. Usually it's, you've got to stop this.
Good for him for having a stand
his wife and daughter's like, nah, go get beat up. We're totally cool with it. Your career's going down the toilet. It was the support system behind Cole was really impressive. I'm not
absolutely. And then so his the promoter of the whole thing was letting us know, like, all you do is get beat up. He gets beat up in the fight. Then Kano, it's like, what if your Akana is, getting beat up by a hat, So like he's always being told that he can't fight. He's always getting beat up. And lo and behold, the Akana, which for anyone who doesn't know, an Akana is basically the symbol. It's a gift from the dragon of Mortal Kombat, right? And it's your special power that unlocks your abilities in the Mortal Kombat tournament, which again was another cool thing that they did. Instead of just saying these people just show up and they have powers, they've always just kind of existed like this. I kind of like that aspect too. But Cole was a guy that I could understand why people didn't like him. He kind of felt like the main character in the Pacific Rim movie, which I didn't like. I felt like Pacific Rim was good without him. And I could see where people would come along that same mindset with Cole here. I personally found him endearing. I thought he was great. He's very likable. He's strong. He kind of steps up to become the leader of this team. And the fact that he's a descendant of Scorpion, I think adds a little bit of, likability to him as well.
Yeah, I was kind of hearing her there with him. I didn't dislike him or whatever. It was kind of like, okay, well, I'll take. And I'm not a huge Mortal Kombat like player, so I honestly, when the show started, didn't know anything about him, like that he was new and all this. I actually kind of learned a lot of it from Josh at his podcast, but but I thought it was pretty cool. I liked what they did with his power, with the wrap, like it symbolized the wrap of the what was it, the knife or
and his the wrist tapings and hand tapings.
So that was all right. It looked all right. It was what it was. I liked how they used it as far as like in battle. I thought that looked pretty cool.
His fatality on Goro was dope.
Yeah, I liked his wife and kid a lot. I thought they did a good job acting. So I bought into like his family. So he was fine. Yeah, I was down with it.
He wasn't the best part of the movie, but I thought he was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have taken her or leave him. If he had turned out to be like the new Scorpion at the end of the movie, it would have sat a lot better with me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, let's just have that. Like, you're a descendant anyways. Like, once Scorpion got his revenge, like if he had like absorbed him and became the new Scorpion, I think that would have been cool, or like a cool setup, especially since like he isn't a character from the games.
Right.
And I wasn't too impressed with his powers, so I was like, like his fight with Goro was cool, but
that was an incredible fatality.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't like was this was just a choice by the movie makers. I didn't like in the slower parts, like in between fights and stuff, how his wrap or whatever, his body wrap kind of stayed on. I thought it just looked like it. I was like, it should have kind of came and went, rather than just staying on him like the whole time. It reminded me of if you guys ever saw League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Mr. Hyde, when he just had that like obviously fake like foam suit on the whole time. And this is how I felt about this. I was like, I loved it during the fights, but when he was standing there having a conversation, I'm like, dude, put a shirt on, something. Like, you got to cover up. Like,
you look like a mummy.
Because everybody else, their power comes and goes. Like, that's how it works. Like, if Scorpion went out to dinner in full Scorpion garb, it would be odd, So that was just a choice they made that I didn't love, but that's nitpicking. That's not the end of the world kind of stuff. But so who was let's talk about some other characters here, because we know we got to talk about.
You got to do Kano next.
Let's talk about Kano. Let's talk about Kano. So I dislike the guy, which I am supposed to dislike him. But I don't know if this movie happens without him. I think it really, really, really needed him a lot. I don't know. I mean, that guy sold out, was all in. I thought that one of the best moves was early on when he gets his face, almost scratched off. I just thought that was cool to show like the damage, and I thought that was one of my favorite parts, was that kind of basement scene with all the different things, and you really got to know 3 of the characters. And he was definitely very, very necessary part of the show. Josh brought up a good point though. Like, if the stereotype is continuing, like, are we supposed to think that all Australians act like this? Because I doubt that they all act like this.
That lady he knew that flew the plane, she acted the exact same way too.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
like Lady Kano.
The 15 seconds that we got to interact with her, she did feel like she was like her, like, or his like cousin or something.
That's a good point. But I thought he was a good character. He was totally dislikable, is what you're supposed to.
I loved him. I couldn't not like. I mean, I think they did if there's one thing, him turning bad didn't make me dislike him or whatever. Like, I still was a big fan of Kano, and again, what they did great in this movie was all the nods to the actual video games that they had, right? So when he's fighting the reptilian and he's kicking butt, Sonya comes in and stabs the reptilian in the heart. He does the classic Kano, pushes his arm into the body, rips the heart out, and he does the whole Kano wins. Like, that was incredible. I love that part. That was incredible. His unique way with the English language. I mean, that was throughout the entire movie. So obviously profanity in of itself kind of made this movie a little bit more enjoyable, which if the acting isn't top notch, you have to find different ways to compensate. They didn't expose, young women on the show. So obviously the next choice would be profanity, right? So Kano choosing that route with him, Kano was nowhere near as enjoyable in the first two movies, like at all. So the fact that they leaned in hard on him, that he was an integral part of finding Raiden's temple because, his past with the Black Dragon, his tie with the Cabal was very entertaining. I love the dialogue that they had with each other in Raiden's temple when Cabal convinces Kano to turn bad. That was pretty impressive. You could definitely tell that they had some sort of history with each other just based off of that one interaction there. They kept his fighting style very true to the games. He's not like a martial artist by any means. He's more of a brawler.
Yeah.
The laser eyes and his expression. The best part of the whole movie was the standoff between Kano, Liu Kang, and Kung Lao when they're sitting down where he passed me an effing egg roll. Like that was the best part of the movie, and he shoots the laser beam out of his eye.
That guy totally sold out. Josh Lawson's his name. I believe he actually is an Aussie.
He is.
That dude totally sold out, and his energy really kept the movie going because you have a lot of these other guys are like their whole thing is they're calm martial artists. Like most of their movies, they're kind of the quiet, go in and kick butt and not say a bunch. So you have to have somebody speak up. Somebody's got to be excited, So he really drove the dialogue in the movie. And speaking of the fight scene with I'll call him the lizard guy. What's his name?
So Josh, you may have to back me up. I don't think that they said that he was Reptile, but that's who I thought he was.
Yeah, I assumed it was Reptile. They called him something. They said he was like
he was a reptilian
races.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it was supposed to be Reptile.
But I thought that was
he is just a lizard man.
And I thought that was a dope fight. I thought to do the partially invisible, sort of invisible, the classic Predator thing. I thought that was really cool how they did it and the effects. I mean, we want to talk about the CGI. I thought that was a really good looking scene in that show. I was impressed with that. And then just all of it. I thought that was a cool scene. Yeah, Kano, he's a wild one. Dude.
Yeah, he was the best. I was a little upset when he got killed, like he had to, but I was like, he's so great.
That kind of scares me for the sequel though, because now granted, Shang Tsung said at the end, that death is just another portal. So maybe they found a way to bring him back because they're going to have a hard time having somebody else to come, depending on who they get to play, like Luke, Johnny Cage or whatever. There's going to be a lot of heavy lifting left if he can't come back.
That guy's going to play that same character for the next 10 years. He's going to be like the cat from.
He's going to be Loki. He's going to be Tom Hiddleston as Loki.
Well, I was thinking the old school guy, like he was in Mad Max. He was another either from Australia or New Zealand. He was in my favorite movie, Commando. I can't remember that dude's name, but anyway,
I know who you're talking about.
He's literally,
Commando.
He's literally played that character 20 times and made a career out of it. Kano, that's it. Like that's who he's going to be. If they, he's made for it. I really thought it helped the movie a lot. I thought it was a pretty good choice. They left the scars on the face and everything. I thought it was pretty cool.
He didn't have the metal plate in his head or anything, so they deviated from the character a little bit, but I enjoyed it.
If they bring him back to life, I bet he'll totally have that metal plate in his face.
Please don't.
There you go. That's what's going to happen. That's it right there. So somebody that I'll jump to somebody that I didn't love. He didn't do bad or whatever, but I thought he was one of the weakest was Jax. I tried, but I could not fall in love with Jax in this movie. There was something, I don't think that guy's personality fit who he was trying to be. And so I just never bought. I never bought that he was Jax. What do you think about Jax, Josh?
I liked him in the beginning, and just that scene where he got his arms exploded was
great scene.
So awesome. But when I saw that this guy was cast, because I know him from True Blood, and he's Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl.
Yep, me too.
He's very large, as in tall, but he's not very big. And like I said on my show, I saw like a week before the movie came out, I saw a picture someone did of Terry Crews as Jax. And I'm like, well, I just want that now. Like that is like perfect casting.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah, he was a little disappointing, and just kind of what they did with him was like a little disappointing when they gave him like the little wimpy robot arms.
Yeah,
he's like
make those in men's sizes.
Yeah, you're right. He had a really good arc. He started off and it wasn't one of those, come with me or you want to live situation. It made a little more sense because he recognized the symbol and all that. And everything was going pretty good. The fight with him and with Sub-Zero, and when the arm, like he freezes I thought that was great. I did not expect that coming because once again, I don't play the game. And so when that happened, I'd totally forgotten. I'm like, oh, I do have some questions about how you can fall 3 stories and bounce off rebar and, without your arms and you're fine. I thought they kind of glossed over that a little bit. When they find him in the temple, they're like, hey, it's Jax. Well, he doesn't have arms, but he's all right. Like he's not. He should be hooked up. He should have had at least one IV in him somewhere. He's just laying on a stone. He's laying on a stone with no arms. He's fine. So that got a little.
Well, with how much of a jerk Raiden was, because I did not like Raiden. I thought he was awful.
Oh,
he was just kind of he was just mean. You would think he would have had someone kill Jax and just to get his symbol. Like find a good fighter and have him just stab Jax in the chest.
Well, that would have made a lot more sense.
Because it's like
he's not allowed to interfere though. That would interfere with the rules of the gods and all that stuff.
I am so sick of that. Like they did that in the first movie too, and it's like he is a playable character in every single Mortal Kombat game.
That is weird.
Why do you constantly be like, oh, he can't be in the tournament? He's in the tournament in every video game.
He didn't really do anything but complain, really. He didn't really do a lot, honestly. Like
I loved him. I thought that he was he had comedic value, but he wasn't as integral part of the movie as probably he should have been. I'll give you that.
And that's he was so downtrodden about oh, these guys, this is what I got to work with.
Yeah.
And he didn't do any of the work. He didn't do anything. He just disappeared for pretty much the rest of the movie.
We teleported people. That was pretty useful.
Yeah.
Let me tell you where I thought this movie dropped the ball. I thought they had the chance at an awesome mid-'80s style training montage.
You love montages.
I'm a montage. I was like, here it comes. And they're like, they kind of showed it and they really just kind of, but man, you put some, Rocky IV, some Karate Kid music in that soundtrack, and I'm telling you what, it could have one of the greatest montages ever. I really think they dropped the ball in the montages. I might make my own. Next time I watch the movie, I might just play some Foreigner or something in the background. You're like, this is what I deserve. But
it probably would have made it better too. Seeing like they actually struggled more because their training was so kind of lame that once it was over, it was like, oh, that's it. Like now they're
that's ready. A good point. I think that's a really, really weak spot of the movie.
Well, the actual fighting didn't really have anything to do with their training. Like none of them gained their abilities from the fight.
Yeah, teach them a crane kick, something.
It all stemmed from the fighting, so to speak, but none of the battle that they had in Raiden's temple led to them discovering their arcana. So that did feel a little bit wasted. But one of the best.
DJ is not a fan.
Oh, come on. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. But one of the best fatalities that the entire movie happened at that training facility though.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yes. No. Yeah, like I say, it was good, but that whole scene, they kind of lost me in there. I just expected more. So essentially they made fun of Kano until he got his and then kicked the crap or basically.
It's like Liu Kang just hit triangle. Every time when he was fighting Kano in that scene.
I did like that nod to the video games because people
would just hit triangle.
Sweep the leg over and over and over again.
Yeah,
he even said, is that the only move you know?
Yep. That's and then funny. He faked it and he anticipated jump and Liu Kang was like, nope, gotcha, boom.
I really like Liu Kang in this movie. I kind of wish that he was the main character.
Liu Kang was good. First off, he was... Well, yeah, I think the tournament, Dustin.
Let's talk about that real quick. Yeah, go ahead.
They obviously the Outworld and Shang Tsung doesn't want there to be a tournament because if they win the next tournament, right, they get to invade Earth and enslave everybody and all that stuff. So Shang Tsung's idea of them coming down and eliminating the competition beforehand, one, it does two things. We've been talking about how this first installment leaves a lot for them to be able to do in the second movie and leave good video game content that they can implement in the next installment, right? So in the second movie, fully anticipate there being a tournament because they're going and looking for more champions. There's probably going to be more realms that they go to and going to be introducing new characters. Then there could be this tournament where we start meeting new people, right? So I think that it would be pretty impressive for them to do in the second movie. But Dustin says that is set for the third movie.
Yeah, and if Dustin says it, it's probably true.
Yeah.
Another great showrunner out there. Yeah, I would say that's a fair criticism. I don't really. That's fine as long as they give us the movies that we deserve and don't, you know what I mean, and don't cut it short. Which I know
it was at least logical why we didn't get it though.
Yeah. I didn't have a huge problem with it, but it is a bit of a Rocky V situation to where like building up for this fight and then you don't actually get a fight. You get a fight in the street and not, you know, a boxing match between boxers. So I can see where people could be disappointed with that. But I personally was fine because in my mind I saw the settings and I saw the stages. So they basically were just, you know, playing the game like pass the sticks. It was more of that than playing the tournament. So
and it would make more sense for Shang Tsung to want to snuff these guys out before they, you know, come together, they band together, they get all their training. Maybe Raiden eventually gives a crap about them and invests like instilling some knowledge or whatever, some training of some sort directly from him as the Thunder God, right? So it would make sense to just go and get these guys while they don't know anything about anything.
And I'll also say this: if the third movie gives me a full, like that movie's just a tournament, then I'm in. Like if I can take it. I got patience for that. So Josh, you know more about the game way more than I do, which is a lot because I don't know really anything about them. The storylines in the game, is there anything similar to this?
I mean, Shang Tsung's always kind of like a like cheating pain in the ass.
Okay, so that's a thing. Okay,
yeah.
But you would think that would be like the one thing that would allow Raiden to like interfere, because Raiden is like the protector of Earthrealm. So if you have a warlord from another realm coming in to kill your people that are set up for the tournament, you would think that is where you can interfere and go,
you can step in now.
No, you're not cheating. like the fact that cheating can actually happen in that type of way before the tournament begins was.
I actually had some big problems with that.
So technically, he does at the very end, right when he gives the what's
sent them away. Yeah.
He gives the Scorpion Blade to Cole there at the end. He kind of does get in the way a little bit to bring back Scorpion, but not in an obvious way. Like, bro, Shang Tsung, you can't just roll up in my palace like this, man. Lightning bolt, bam. You know you're.
So I want to just touch on my favorite character, and I think it's a lot because of the actor. I think it's a lot, but what they did with him, Kung Lao.
Kung Lao was the man.
I just everything he did, I just thought was just so super cool. I don't know, man. He just really bought into the character. And I always say this about a comic book movie, which obviously I'll watch way more of, when a guy sells out for the character. Like, don't worry about how silly it is. Don't worry about, you know, like really, really sell out and give a legitimate character. And I just thought he was just so over the top, man. When he shows up and, you know, does the, you know, rubs the brim of the hat, I'm like, this is the coolest guy I've ever met in my life. Like, I want this guy. I'm here for it. And the way he poked it, you know, Kano, like we talked about, all that stuff. I really thought super. Now, you guys play the game. How does he compare to like in the game?
Fighting style is right there. Like, I remember, Josh, if you remember the block that he throws where he lifts the leg and he shields his face.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty freaking awesome. I was watching one of the interviews that they conducted. This actor, he actually implemented a couple of his own moves to the character. So not everything that we did see was 100% canon from the video games. So like when he does that little step around and then launches the hat at Shang Tsung, he actually implemented that move. That's not something that we saw from him in the gameplay. So that was pretty neat that he was being a little bit innovative. But, you know, the best fatality of the movie, Josh, I'll kind of let you take it away. But I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah. He looks perfect. He looks exactly like this character in the
That's
video.
awesome.
But yeah, when he kills what is it?
Natara.
Yeah. Which I didn't really care for her or Raiko. And I know like they're just kind of trying to pad it out so they don't use all the best characters in the first movie.
Yeah.
But I was just like, eh. But it was worth it because yeah, he launches that hat into the ground and starts it up like a buzzsaw and just jumps on her back and flies her right into it.
And you got
flawless victory,
and that's from the games, right? That's one of his fatalities in the games, right?
That has always been, he just
and they sold out. That's another great looking scene. I mean, it was gross, but it looked great.
And even so, like one thing that I appreciated so many nods to the games was the actual stances that they assumed before a fight would happen. So many of them were actually in keeping with the video games. That was phenomenal. When he shows up. He comes up from under the ground, under the hat, spinning. Like, that was fantastic.
Yes. No, I thought I just thought, and I thought he did a great job. The actor's name is Max Wong.
Yeah.
I just thought he did a great job with it. Myself, I don't know. That's, that was cool. And I don't know anything. I like him better now that you guys tell me how authentic he was. Let's go through a couple more. Like Sub-Zero, I thought was cool.
Yeah, Bihan was the man.
Yeah, I thought the actor did a good job, and when that's why I ask you guys, because I get it that you have a better correlation between the game and the movie. So, did you approve the Sub-Zero? I take it.
Oh yeah, that story was perfectly done too. Like that
really
was phenomenal. Their like blood feud is always incorporated in the storyline. There's an animated version that came out last year called Scorpion's Revenge that is on HBO Max right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you because you guys brought it up in your show, and I can't wait to watch. I'll probably watch it tomorrow morning because
the beginning of it is pretty much. I mean, he's like more in a village, like in an actual like Japanese like stronghold village, but I mean it's essentially the same opening. It's set in the past, and Sub-Zero attacks Scorpion's village, and it is phenomenal in the movie, and I think it might even be better in that cartoon because it is brutal.
The animated stuff is typically better than the live action stuff. You can just get away with doing a lot more that you don't have to ask a real life human being to do or to CGI something.
Yeah. Well, and it is a lot more like the video games. Like when they're doing stuff, it's like X-raying in, like showing you their skull when he like cracks their jaw and stuff like that.
Yes,
and it is just brutal. It's fantastic. I still haven't gone back and finished it, but I need to. I might do that tonight.
Yeah, so DJ Josh brought this. I just want to touch with our viewer DJ. He brought up the Scorpion Sub-Zero movie. Josh brought it up earlier too. Like we're all on board. I think. I mean, we're gonna get it. Like they'll make movies, and like they won't stop making movies. If people
shut up and take my money.
Yeah, if this had been just that, like if that intro had just gone, and this was just all leading up to like Scorpion and Hell and his revenge on Sub-Zero, I would have taken that because that intro was phenomenal.
Yeah, they did a great job, and they told a really good story, and they didn't go too far, if you know what I mean. With with the family that was involved, there's a wife and 2 young kids. They did a good job of letting you know that it was a tragic situation without showing a tragic situation, if that makes sense, with it being a rated R movie. The fighting, though, with Sub-Zero or Bihan, whatever you want to call him, the actor, apparently, this is a shout out to like some Bruce Lee type stuff, he actually had to slow down on set in order for them to capture all of his moves and fighting and stuff. So shout out to Joe Taslim for that.
So did Wesley Snipes in Demolition Man. I mean, I'm just saying that.
Well, shout out to him.
I'm just saying there's more. I'm just reporting what I've heard here.
Well, when we do the Demolition Man movie review, please.
Josh, I don't think you've done Demolition Man, have you?
We almost did, but yeah, no, we haven't done it yet.
Yeah,
we almost did it a few weeks ago.
So Josh on his podcast, he'll also do a lot of watch-alongs, which I'm a huge fan of those, and so I can't explain enough. Like it's if you've seen a movie and really like a movie, I ask you to go to Josh's podcast and listen along. It's really fun.
Sub-Zero. So Josh, I want to kind of touch with you just to see if I'm giving a full accurate take on this. One, the in fight scene where the layers of Sub-Zero come off, I thought that was so dope because we get to see actual different versions of Sub-Zero from the video games all in that one fight scene. When he's in that full garb, he dresses down and he's kind of in that black undersuit we've seen that before, and we've actually seen gameplay of Sub-Zero without his mask at all. So I thought that was pretty neat that they've showed all those different iterations in that one scene. And then the fighting in of itself, where he launches the blood up in the air, turns it into an icicle, and then stabs, Scorpion with it. We saw him, make the ice wall and throw someone through it. We saw the ice decoy of himself and him sliding back. That was pretty cool. So a lot of the Mortal Kombat gameplay, particularly with Sub-Zero, I thought was excellent throughout the movie.
Yeah. Well, the end there sets up a whole lot, because Scorpion sets him on fire and he dies, but then Shang Tsung takes his body away. But when he's laying there dead, he's all black. In the video games, the storyline is Sub-Zero kills Scorpion. Scorpion goes to hell. He plots his revenge to come back and kill Sub-Zero. It turns out that it wasn't actually Sub-Zero, but he kills Sub-Zero anyways. And when Sub-Zero dies, Shang Tsung brings him back as a character called Noob Saibot.
Yeah.
Which is an all-black character, so that is clearly set up for that. But also, once Sub-Zero dies, he has a brother that becomes the new Sub-Zero, but is not a bad guy. So we could also get Sub-Zero back in the sequel, just as a different character that isn't.
Holy smokes! I'm learning so much here tonight. I might start playing. I don't think they have the game on Xbox, do they? Isn't it?
No, yeah, they probably have like the trilogy, the first two together.
I might have to get into this.
You could just probably YouTube the storylines of the games and just watch the storylines if you don't just want to play them out.
That's pretty
good one to get is when they made Mortal Kombat. It's Mortal Kombat 9, but it's not called Mortal Kombat 9. It's just called Mortal Kombat, which is definitely on the Xbox. The whole point of that game, the necklace that Kano goes to steal in this movie in Raiden's castle, that is Shinnok's amulet, who is a bad guy in Mortal Kombat. In Mortal Kombat, whatever the last one on the PS2 was, is that Armageddon?
I can't remember. I don't want to misquote you.
Yeah, I think it's Armageddon. That game ends with basically Raiden is going to die from the Emperor is going to kill him. He has that necklace. He sends his consciousness back in time to his body at the beginning of the first game. And that's where like that reboot of Mortal Kombat starts.
Oh, really?
So that's where you get a lot of story. He knows what's happening, so he's trying to like change things or stop things from happening.
And there's one game where there's like a continuous time loop, right? That he has to kind of like break out of.
Yeah. He thinks, oh, like I know everything's gonna happen. I can prevent this from happening now, but he keeps making things worse. Every time he tries to change something, like no one listens to him, and bad things still happen, or he does change things and it changes for the worse. Like he saves Sub-Zero's life, but then Sub-Zero becomes a cyborg like Cyrax and Sector. So, and then he's a bad guy when he's supposed to be a good guy, so it like keeps getting messed up. But yeah, that is a great place to jump on if you want like a lot of lore, because the original games, they don't really like explain anything. You just
it's just a fighting game.
Like in the sequel, they're just like, oh yeah, you were supposed to play as Liu Kang in the first one. He won the tournament.
My favorite fact about Mortal Kombat is that it was supposed to be Bloodsport, and they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah,
that cracks that just kills me because I'm a giant Bloodsport fan. Like it's.
We almost did that one too. We have to do that one.
You have to do Bloodsport. Yeah, that would be perfect. That's a great watch along because it's short and it's ridiculous. So
and there's so many like facts about it. There is a guy that is supposedly based off true events.
And it turned out he was a liar.
And the guy's like, no, yeah, that totally happened. And I trained Jean-Claude Van Damme for this movie and all this stuff. And it's like, this guy's just out of his mind.
Yep. Frank Dukes. So let's talk about. We'll talk about another character here.
I wanted to ask about Sonya Blade.
That's where I'm going next. So
okay, perfect.
Let's go ahead, Steven. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask because we did get the traditional like her and Jax work together. They've known each other through the armed forces and stuff like that. I thought it was interesting that she wasn't necessarily a chosen member, nor had she taken an Akana from someone else, kind of like what I'm blanking here. Kano, when Kano wasn't originally a chosen one either, but he killed somebody and got his Akana, right? So I thought it was cool how Sonya went through basically the entire movie until the battle with Kano at the end before she became, an empowered person. So, Josh, I want to ask you, what did you think of the way that they chose to utilize her in this movie? And obviously, they got stuff planned for her down the road. So, just kind of touch on what you think is going to happen with her in these next couple movies.
Yeah, I heard people say that she was like wooden. I thought she was really good.
I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah, I love the way that they incorporated her. I thought it was a really cool aspect that like she was there by choice. Like she wasn't there by like destiny. She was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this anyways. Like, but it did kind of like in that middle part we were talking about that did drag. It dragged even more for her character because she literally had nothing to do. They were like, you can't train. You're not supposed to really be here. So
just go sit with Jax and help him feel better. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think that, and then this is where I think that this movie might have, they just went a different direction or didn't follow through on it. Cause I think there was going to be more to that about her earning that way. Cause when she took it from Kano, I think that would have meant more if there was a little bit more of her, like, earning, like showing that actually, I think what they were trying to say is like, actually, I'm the best of us. I just didn't happen to be born with this symbol. And then when she got it, you would have felt more like she was the one that was supposed to have it instead of Kano not deserving it. But they really didn't touch on that. They're kind of like, they literally were like, I just hang out over there. And then she gets it. So, and I don't know if that's something that got left out or they're just like, we don't have time for this.
I think what they did, Josh, I want to get your opinion on this too, is a lot of the instruction that Liu Kang in particular was giving, if you notice, and it was kind of subtle, but he was speaking to her a lot throughout the training period. So it almost seemed like Liu Kang believed that she was at some point going to be a part of that new group of champions. Did you kind of get that impression, Josh?
Yeah, I thought they were good. I thought they were like foreshadowing because they were like, oh, you can't train because you're not a chosen one, and like no one unlocks their arcana without a dragon marking and stuff like that. I thought that they were foreshadowing that, like, just off of her like bravery and courage alone,
Me too.
She was going to like become a chosen one without killing somebody with a symbol. Like
she had to do
something brave, and then like the symbol was just going to appear on her or something like that.
That's exactly where I thought they were going with
Sword in the stone type thing.
Yeah, and I just feel like they kind of like blatantly foreshadowed that, and then they just were like, "Oh no, you'll just kill Kano." And you'll
because she fought Melina too, and Melina had that, like you don't. This is not the blood of a champion. Your death is useless here. And it kind of felt like that was going to build up to a showdown between those two. And then she even asked, when she does, eventually get to be a part of the group and go fight the people at the end, she wants to fight Melina. And they're like, nah, you can just go fight Kano. Yeah. I thought that was kind of a wasted opportunity. But we did see her come back and inflict a little bit of damage on her.
So I want to ask about somebody that I don't know if everybody agrees, I don't know if I want to call this guy the worst character, but he didn't fit. It was like he was in a different movie. What's the cat's name that was completely covered like snake eyes?
Cabal? He was dope. I think he was probably my favorite of Shang Tsung's baddies.
But he was kind of like he was in a different movie. I was so off put by
there wasn't enough of him in my opinion.
Really? So you liked him? I don't know if I didn't like him. I was just like, this guy's weird. I was like, he's a little rude, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Like, there's no respect. Yeah. But he was a really good fighter, so I don't think it matched with his fighting skills. Something was odd about that character. I didn't dislike it. I thought he looked great. I even liked his voice, that weird T-Pain.
I thought that was dope.
No, I thought, yeah. I thought they went straight early 2000s hip hop.
He made fun of himself. He's like, he's the reason I'm in this iron lung. When he was talking with Shang Tsung about Kano, which that was weird too. Where he's like, oh hey, was there a guy down there by chance named Kano just kicking around down there? Like it was just kind of convenient that Cabal knew that Kano would be.
I just thought he was a really good fight. He didn't. For someone that just was so nonchalant, I just didn't understand how he became that good a fighter. It just didn't. I thought he would it didn't match up to me. Like Kano matched up. He's a brawler. This guy was pretty badass, and acted. Yeah, I don't know. He acted like he
going too
ran a
fast for
tire.
you. Yeah.
Act like he ran a tire shop. I don't know what was happening there.
Yeah, he was just basically like, they're like, oh, the bad team needs a Kano as well, so they need a foul mouthed person on their group, and it was like,
Yeah, he was.
but
He was
Kano's
like,
not a good guy.
he was at Tarantino level foul mouth. I mean, it was that guy was over the top. I like the character, and the
I
fight
loved him.
scenes.
He
Yeah.
should have been in even more of Shang Tsung's baddies
Really?
talking. Like not above Sub-Zero, obviously, but I feel like it was a little bit wasted opportunity with Cabal because they could have had and moving forward, they could have had Kano and Cabal just like running roughshod over people and having a great time doing it, you know?
Yeah. Now that I might be able to live with that. I don't know. There was just it just didn't match. I did not like it or not enjoy him. It just didn't. And maybe, so you guys would know once again from the games, is this consistent? Like, is this guy okay? So
his design and powers and all that is, yeah.
Not the characters so much as far as his his disposition.
So the actual person, where's he from? Like I said, my guess is New Jersey. I can't quite.
Yeah, as far as I know, he was like a New York City police officer.
Okay,
then he got set on fire.
Now see, no, that makes sense. That totally.
And now he's
sense.
wicked fast.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's his power, I guess. He just gets fast.
And
I did think that was cool. Like, I thought it was kind of stupid that they used the dragon symbol because, like, I mean, it's Mortal Kombat. So, but the fact that like so easily explains why everyone has powers, and it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're not just shooting fireballs out of your hand out of nowhere. Like,
it was very kind of like Power Rangers-y, like where they have these powers like entrusted in them, like they almost had to earn it, whether it's by having good virtues or just being a bad person.
Maybe that's people's problems with this movie because it does, like, if you like took out all the gore and language, you would just have like a Power Rangers movie,
which I like.
The setup and the trials that they go through and stuff like that. It is all set up very like kind of like teenagery type of like
that's
movie.
A great point, guys. And I think when we see this on TNT in a couple years, and it's so easy for these movies because you don't see a lot of their faces.
FX.
They can cut out so much language that it's going to be a totally different movie.
I think they probably should have made things like they should have upped the gore even more to like, because it was pretty much just the fatalities.
Right. I thought that was a little weird too.
And none of the fights were long. Like if they had long fight scenes where like they're punching each other and their hands are soaked in blood and their faces are getting all bloody and stuff, that would be like a little more believable.
Or someone just pops up in the background and goes, whoopsie, like keep it super campy.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point about that. Huh.
I think just so much of like what people are wanting more of, I wholeheartedly believe that it was almost intentional because they're testing, you know what I mean? Like this is basically like a test run to see how much people want a Mortal Kombat movie, and then also to get feedback and say how much they want of different aspects. You
probably got to be. I mean, you can get pretty bloody and gory, especially with CGI and stuff. But if you go too far, then you're alienating. You're eliminating some audience that might watch this show. Like, I mean, honestly, like my kid, he would have watched the show when he was, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old. It really, you know what I mean? As to where like, not everybody's like that, but I'm saying you also don't want to eliminate audiences either when you're talking about a video game movie.
And this isn't the MCU pumping out a movie that they know that everyone is going to stop what they're doing that day and go see. Like this is a, Warner Brothers installment of Mortal Kombat, so you kind of have to take a calculated risk and decision. There's, pros and cons to what they did. And I think that they're going to up a lot of what fans want to see in the next one because now there's some level of expectation.
They definitely need to. And it's one of those things where when the trailer for this came out, everyone freaked out. And the trailer is amazing.
Yes.
And I think what might be letting people down that didn't like this movie is that when you do watch it, you do kind of see like the majority of all the good action in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like the majority of the Scorpion Sub-Zero fight you see in the trailer.
Yeah, I'm glad I never
the one in the
watched
beginning and the end.
Yeah.
And then like you see pretty much all the cool stuff. You see Liu Kang's fire dragon. You see Kano shooting his laser eye. Like you see Jax getting his robot arms and him getting his arms frozen off. Like you see pretty much all of the cool. You see Goro. Like if they had not shown that in the trailer, that would have been a cool surprise.
I'm so glad I didn't watch the trailer because it was a cool surprise. When he pops up, I'm like, hey, it's that, because I know him as that dude, but I remember him. I'm like, oh, it's that
It's
dude.
a four-arm guy, yeah.
No, that was a pretty good fight. I think it could have been great, and I think just for like what you said, there was no damage until the end. Like, so that fight had like no consequences until all of a sudden, Cole kind of dislocates one of his arms and stuff like that, and it kind of started getting there. But until that, it was just a lot of. So Cole didn't have any powers by then, and this guy's throwing him through a barn, and there's no consequences. So that was a little. I thought they could have took more damage.
Everybody's just kind of invulnerable. I mean, look at Kano. He got a knife to the leg, a giant Bowie knife to the leg. He just pulls it out and he's fine. And it's
I have a huge
10-inch knife to the leg.
No, he should. It didn't have a limp or anything. I'm like, what is going on here? So, but I get it. That's the way they went with it. Guys. That's a lot of adrenaline. I've never had that much adrenaline. That's fine if they want to go that route, because that's what it is. But that was a bit of a nitpick. So overall, did you guys, as the video game fans, did you approve of the characters? It sounds like you're pretty on board.
The majority of them, yes. There a couple of them I feel like it kind of left you wanting a little bit more out of them. But overall, if I had to grade all the characters grouped into one thing, probably B plus somewhere in there.
Anybody bother you?
General Reiku kind of bothered me a little bit. He felt kind of useless
and looks nothing like.
No,
out of a movie full of characters that look exactly like their video game counterpart, he looks nothing like his video game counterpart.
General Reiku was kind of lame. Natara, she, we touched on both of those. That they're kind of useless in the movie. We're a little bit of disappointed in Jax. And
is Natara the one with the?
She's the wing. No, you're thinking of Melina. And
Melina. I kind of liked her.
I liked her too, and they definitely left enough with her to set up a couple other characters that when we get into predictions, I'm sure we'll bring up.
Well, I like Natara, but she was in it for not very long. I think I
she had one job in this movie.
Yeah, to die. To set up our boy for the perfect fatality. So I don't know. I enjoyed them all too. I didn't come away with. Sonya had ups and downs, but overall, I thought she was pretty good. And once again, I always like to comment on this. I'm glad that they found no reason to do some silly, we stumble in and she's in her brawl, something stupid. That drives me nuts in movies. Like, hey, we've got a beautiful woman. We need to. Liu Kang needs to walk in while she's getting dressed or something stupid like that or all that. So I thought it was cool. I like when they do a female and actually respect the character.
She's just a butt kicking chick,
Yeah. So I liked her. I liked her character and stuff. I mean, it was like I said, it was up and down, middle of the road, but overall, man, I thought they were great, and some of them I loved. So, we'll go.
And for introducing a brand new character, I thought they did a decent job with Cole, with having nothing to work with other than we're just going to build a new character.
And my guess is he's probably a guy that Hollywood's trying to he's probably I'm sure that he's set up for, this is going to be a guy to do something, that's usually what you see in these kind of an actor you don't know a lot about. And they give him a role like this. They're like, this is his vehicle to, start him. Maybe it will be, maybe it will be. I don't know. That's just, that's a pretty important role.
I thought Shang Tsung's character was awesome. I thought that the actor, what's his name, Chin Han, I thought that he did a great job with the "Your soul is mine," that the famous line from Shang Tsung. I thought that he delivered in on that.
I didn't really dislike any of them. I thought they were pretty. I thought they all sold out.
They're just a lot of solid, a couple of major, a couple of underperforming.
What about you, Josh? Any major problems with it?
No, just Raiko, and it's one of those things where all the good stuff kind of outweighed all the bad stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Like
Yeah,
Sub-Zero and Scorpion looking so perfect, kind of.
You know what? That was perfect.
It
That's a
makes
good
me
point.
not care about a character I already didn't care about anyway. So,
And I want to say too, the lightning I thought looked great. Like every time,
Raiden.
every time they used the lightning, I'm like, that looks like it just looked. I mean, I just thought that looked perfect. I thought the special effects were just, nonstop. Here we go.
yeah, the budget was definitely spent well on this film.
Yeah, and I'll agree with DJ. I don't think it's going to create a great career from this guy. I don't think he necessarily jumped off the screen. I suspect that that's what they were trying to do with Cole, and we'll see. But I'm sure he's a happy guy now.
Sure.
Signing the future contracts. So we talked about the characters. Let's talk a little bit. We've touched on a ton of this. Where did I put it? Well, I said fight choreography, but just talk about your favorite fight scene. I mean, I know we all love the ice fight at the end. I thought the
fatality, like that's the best fight part of the entire movie is the Kung Lao fatality on Natara. Like
that was pretty cool.
That was the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the intro was, besides that part just being so cool, I think the intro was probably the best, the most well choreographed fight in the entire movie.
Absolutely.
And I thought, I did too. I think that was probably the best. And that's probably because it was the two like most humans without all the extra stuff. Because I mean, these guys are. I mean, I'm sure they're fighting in front of green screens. I mean, that's tough. But I like
two of the most important characters of the entire Mortal Kombat franchise.
And you guys help me out here. Scorpion's weapon that he uses, I'm sure it's got a name that everybody knows that I don't. The knife on a rope.
Well, it's just kind of it was like a shuriken that he put a rope on.
I thought that was dope how they did that and come up with
it didn't come out of his hand like some sort of like bad CGI snake that we were dealt in the first two movies. Oh my God,
exactly. I just thought it was great, like that fight scene in the beginning, how they implement like I thought that was really cool stuff. And I thought how they used it later, and of course the get over here had to happen.
My wife cracked up when she saw my reaction to that because I was like, they did the get over here. I loved how, like, if you like the video games, a big part of you had to like the movie because so much of the movie was true to the video game.
Yeah, and the ice gym fight. So I'll ask you guys overall though, as far as what did you think of the actual fighting, like as far as the actual fight choreography? We talked about the beginning scene was awesome, but then I don't know if the rest of it was.
None of it was long enough. Like it's pretty much the beginning and the end for real actual fights. Everything else is like I punched you or I threw you or I threw my hat in the ground and rode you like a surfboard.
Or I low kicked you 4 times in a row.
And I didn't and I'm sure some people do, but like the jacks, the pop in the head and all that, I don't care about that. Like that's not I really wanted more martial arts.
None of those were like actual fights. Like
exactly. They
were just like kind of like money shot scenes. Like it's just like we're here for him to slap his head and make his head explode.
Yeah.
Like Melina's teleporting all over just to eventually get shot by Sonya. Like even Liu Kang and Cabal, it's like you're getting punched until I punch you into this puddle, and then I.
We did that. He did the high bicycle kick too. So,
yeah, he did bicycle.
That was pretty neat.
You did have your traditional Liu Kang, high kicks without the screeching, which I was glad that they didn't go the high pit squealing while he was doing it.
Yeah. But I would have loved some like raid style, like
precisely
nonstop. Brutal back and forth.
Precisely. And that's what I expected because, I mean, the star of the raid's in it. So I'm like, oh, this is going and I don't know, though, if they lean into that and they give us that movie, maybe I don't like it as much. I don't really know because I think that's what I wanted. But I'm like, wait a minute, I really like this movie. But I thought some of those fights in the middle could have been a little more choreographed and a little more, intricate, for lack of a better term. But the beginning fight, end fight was great. Overall, was pretty good.
And I think we need to consider too. We keep talking about the budget and how great of a job they did without it. I don't know how much more fighting we could have got.
No, that's a fair
considering that
point.
budget.
That's
Yeah.
a fair point. Like I say, it's nitpicking, but I thought overall was pretty good. I was satisfied with it. A lot of the typical stuff. I mean, especially Sonya and Kano. Like that fight just kind of goes in one ear and out the other with me. Like I don't know. It's just a lot of big swings and wrestling and throws, and it's fine, but it is.
That's how Kano fights, though, and he was the more empowered one. So,
and I respect that. Yeah,
he would be controlling the fight because he's the one that has the abilities, the powers. He's a little bit stronger in that scene, so it makes sense for that brawl to take place the way it would because he at that moment was the more powerful of the two of them. So his style would have shown through more.
And I think it's fair. Sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
Their little scrap in the desert was good, though.
Yes.
Yeah,
where he puffed up to her and she was like, "I'm not taking your shit. I'm gonna beat you down."
Yeah. That was really cool. Yeah, it's a good point.
Had the knife to his throat and he's like,
I think you guys bring up a good point. I mean, the budget does affect that stuff. I mean, another
we like the next one better and they have more money to spend on it, we'll be like,
another 2 minutes of fighting. Who knows how long that actually take? And then you're involved in more of this and more like stunts and more cables, and that may have had a huge impact. So I guess one thing I'm glad they didn't do was just lean on CGI to make the fights better, because then that's when you start getting really cheesy. That's I guess I should careful what I wish for. I like the movie, so I'm not going to complain about it. And the end fight was cool. Like I could just watch that. If I'm flipping channels and that's on, like I will stop and watch that fight scene every time. I thought it was super cool how they handled the ice and the flames and just the little things they did. I don't know, man.
I wonder how much. I would love to know like what total percent of the budget that scene cost. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, setting up that gym must have cost some money. Because, I mean, there was so much cool, like, environmental stuff in that scene. Like, when he gets thrown against the cage and all the ice just breaks off. It looked amazing.
And I got to bring up
ball, the throw through, the fact that where he has the sword stuck in the ground, and he launches him into it, stabs him, the sword flips back, and that was in keeping with the game. That was
my
incredible.
Absolute favorite moment, for just one moment, was when he stabs him with his own frozen blood.
Yes,
I thought that was one of the coolest things. Because I never even thought about it. When I saw it, I'm like, that was smart. Like I'd never thought about that. I thought it looked awesome. I thought that was just one of the neatest things I'd ever seen in a movie. I love that.
And that's exactly like that scene. Like that, and when he like freezes the ground and it makes an ice wall and he throws him into it, like that is just 1,000,000% the video game,
which is even better. That makes me even happier that it's authentic, because I'm a big.
And then the ice decoy, he slips away from it, and Scorpion attacks the ice decoy. It's not him. Like that last scene was dope. It was a great scene.
For sure. Well, that makes me feel better, because I'm as a comic book guy. I mean, I'm one of those like. I want it to be like the comic, just sell out and be like the comic. So it makes me happy to hear that the game, and the movie correlated. I don't know.
It did a lot, man. I think people may not. Some people do who didn't like the movie. Some people who don't like the movie do understand how much it correlated with the game, or paralleled, if you will. I thought they did a tremendous job of putting so much of the game influence in the movie. I thought they did it.
And I tell you what they did do is what you don't want to do is do the opposite and have the 8 billion people that play that game be mad at you because you screwed it up.
Yeah,
that's what they couldn't do. Josh, like I get a feel from your podcast, you're a guy that would have been highly upset if they would have strayed from the game.
Yeah, I've seen Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
There you go. Have you seen it
even
twice?
Like, I think anyone who didn't like this movie would still say like those fight scenes were amazing.
Yeah, good point.
Like anyone who was like, oh, the whole like the beginning was great and the end was great, but the whole rest of it was bad. Like no one can deny that intro and the final fight between Scorpion and Sub-Zero are fantastic. Like if you think they're bad, then you're just stupid, because they're fantastic.
You're just too cool for school. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of trendy to hate stuff. You know what I mean? So. Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was great.
Yeah. So, and I had story plot line on here, but we covered that. I think we've established that we think this is building up to something bigger. We kind of okayed the plot as long as they pay it off in the next couple movies. Is kind of how I think we all kind of feel about it, which is fine. I know if you want to make 6 of these, I'll watch them. I'm in
100%.
As long as you make them, just you can't stop. That's what there's nothing worse than a movie does this and then they don't make the next one. Then you're like, well, that now it turned into a bad movie. It turned into half a movie. So we give that. So let's give it a quick rating here. I don't know what kind of number or what do you want to do here, Steven? We can't really do Infinity Stones. What do we want to do?
No, we can't. So do you want to do what we can do? We'll just do 3 rounds. Josh, you think that's fine? We can give it, 3 rounds.
Yeah.
It's kind of in keeping with the game.
I'll trust you guys on it.
All right, so we can rate it between 1 to 3 rounds to kind of tie it into the video game.
Okay. I assume 3's better, or is 1 better?
We'll do 3. 3's better.
Okay.
1 to 3, 3 being the highest.
So if we're just going to go 1 to 3, I'm going to give it 3. I give it a 3 solid rounds. I feel good about it. I'm not going to get. It's not a flawless victory or fatality, whatever they call it.
You were right. Flawless victory.
Victory.
We should have did wins, fatality, flawless victory.
But I believe, especially you guys have verified it. The way they tied it into the game, and it sounds like the way they respected the game, and when I add that to what I thought of it, my rating actually went up. So I'm giving it a full 3 rounds. I thoroughly enjoy it. And I'll put it this way. I'm really, I'll watch the next one the day it comes out. Hopefully it comes out on. Should have talked a little bit about this. Came out on HBO Max too, which was a huge deal. So I don't know if this is something that's going to continue. I hope it does.
They've been doing great with them. They've been
all of Warner Brothers movies for the whole year.
That's awesome. So, anyway, I'm really looking forward to the next one, and if there's another one, the next one after that. So I'm giving it 3 rounds.
Okay. I'll as much as I loved it and I felt like I've defended it probably the hardest from all 3 of us. I'm still just going to give it 2. 3 is just kind of a weird number anyway to rate something by, because it's thirds is just weird for me, even though I came up with it myself. But I'll give it 2 just because, Jeff, you touched on it. It wasn't perfect. It was not a flawless victory, but I still think that, I would call it a fatality if we're going to go by that scale, because, we got a great story. It's a testing the waters movie. We got a good fatality. The CGI was good. How in keeping it was with the video game. There was a couple aspects that we didn't like, but overall, I thought it was a solid movie. And I've seen it since it came out. I want to say like 4 or 5 times.
I've only seen it 2 full times, but it's pretty good. So how do you feel about it, Josh?
Yeah, I'd give it a 3. In game terms, I'd give it a 3, but you didn't land the fatality at the end of the 3rd.
That's kind of what I think too. Whatever that means, whatever
that means. Yeah, you messed up your button combination. You didn't.
Perfect. I remember that part. I remember about playing the game. That was so frustrating. You're like, finish him. Like, I can't.
Yeah, uppercut.
My thumbs don't work. Yeah, I'm gonna push him over. That's exactly how I feel about it.
Because I mean, it was perfectly enjoyable, and it is exactly what it was supposed to be. Like, there was nothing off about it to the point where I was disappointed. I just kind of wish there had been more than what I had seen in the trailer, because you kind of couldn't have shown less in the trailer either. Like, you kind of had to be like, here's some cool stuff. Like, everyone knows what Mortal Kombat is. You kind of have to sell it.
Yeah, so, you're gonna want to see this.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I liked it. I walked out happy. So I mean, I'm not one of those people where it's like it has to be the best movie I've ever seen, or else it's the worst movie I've ever seen. Like, it was perfectly fine. Like, I liked it.
So
I'm excited to see a sequel that I'm sure will be better.
Absolutely. So before we get out of here, I got a follow-up bonus question. Is this the greatest video game movie of all time? I know, Josh, you just did a show on it a couple weeks ago. So.
Yeah, no, I still think Sonic and Detective Pikachu are better.
Detective Pikachu was dope.
Sonic is actually in my queue. I have not made it to it, but I cannot wait. I like Detective Pikachu.
People say it's bad, and I don't understand.
Loved it. I loved it. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's great.
I'm a Sonic fan.
Exactly what it should be.
I thought it was fantastic. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik is
was this
everything
better?
that
Was
need.
this better than Mario Brothers?
Yes. My only real problem is I don't know that it was better than the original Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh, please, come on.
I don't think the original one's better. I just don't think this one is better than that either. Like, they're both kind of on like the same page where it's like,
I need to go back and watch the 95.
You didn't nail the landing, but it's perfectly enjoyable.
That was a fun movie. I watched that movie a lot. I worked at a Walmart.
I've watched it a bunch too. I think this may be recency bias. I don't know, but like, I do feel like this one was a better movie.
Well, think how the games have changed too. So it's it's so like the game is so much different too. So it's hard to judge.
Fair. That's fair.
I mean, you were getting 8 pixels to build a movie off of, and Jean-Claude Van Damme.
The original movie is not great, but I mean, at least you get a tournament and you get a lot of characters from the video games. Like,
that's true. That's true.
Both of these movies are exactly what they're supposed to be.
Well, let's just hope that Annihilation isn't in store for this one.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
it's the worst movie ever.
So Josh, before we get out of here, first of all, I want to say thanks for coming on and spending the time with us. This was an awesome guest appearance. I'm glad me and you finally got to work together. We got something else coming up. I'll just spill the beans. We're planning on doing an Invincible series review show.
Okay. I have so much to say.
It's absolutely one of my favorite shows that I've ever watched in my life, and I can't wait to do it. And Josh was nice enough to agree to do it. So we got that coming up.
Has affected me on an emotional level for days now.
Yes, so.
As both a father and a son.
Yeah, right. Those are some of the best shows. I totally get it. So, Josh, tell everybody where they can find you. Tell them what your podcast and all the good stuff.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was awesome. I'm Josh. I'm the host of the 4 Nerds by Nerds podcast. It was me and my friend Ben, but now it's me and a few different people, cast of characters. We do a twice a week show, Monday and Fridays, where we do a lot of movie commentaries. We do like news and reviews of movies. I'd like to do a lot more movie reviews. And then we'll do like special topics, or we'll have guests on and play Jeopardy, or just interview people about their show or whatnot. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. We try to cover everything in nerd culture. So check us out. We are on Twitter, FMBN Podcast. We are on Facebook and Instagram, FMBN, the number 4 and the letter U.
Yes, I highly recommend. I'm a huge fan, huge listener. Ever since I think the first one I listened to was Top Gun back in the summer.
That's our highest downloaded episode. Yeah, that was good.
It's just I don't know. So I've listened to a bunch of them, and you're a guest on a lot of shows too. I catch you on a lot of other shows. So doing some good
I'm trying
work
to be now. Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing good work out there. Appreciate it. So,
I am following you guys. Cool. I just wanted to make sure I'm on Twitter now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice.
Oh, Steven, if you're not too busy, tell everybody where they can find you.
I'm sorry. I was just looking up the FNB on Twitter right now, and I already am following them. So, as for me, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at StevenBTG. That BTG stands for Breaking the Game, which is actually the basketball podcast that me and my buddy Austin Carr co-host. So, Josh, I try to be well-rounded. I try to be as equally athletic-centered and also nerd-centered. I try to, left brain, right brain type thing going on there. But you can follow me on Twitter there. If you want to follow my basketball podcast, it's available at BTG NBA Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And as far as the nerd part of me, that's all on Jeff Needs Help. Jeff and I do a lot of work together, and it's been fun kind of spreading my wings and getting into podcasting on that aspect too. And Jeff, I can't thank you enough for letting me be on your show and getting to meet great people like Josh, who otherwise, our paths would have never have crossed if not been for you, man. So I appreciate it.
No, you guys are both great. You guys know me. I do Jeff Needs Help, Jeff Needs Sports. You find me on Twitter at jhunt006. I'm always somewhere. It's not hard to get hold of me. Anybody wants to come on the show or has great ideas for a show, whatever, just hit me up. But most of all, I thank everybody that listens and watch. Thank Josh Gilstrap for stopping by tonight, DJ for stopping by tonight, 2 other great podcasts.
Shout out to them, man. Appreciate y'all interacting.
Go check them out. So that's it. I appreciate everybody watches, listens, be kind to each other. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon, everyone. Thanks, guys.
Much love, everybody.